So recently, Bleacher Report came out with an article going over every NBA team and giving them the toughest question that they have to answer coming into the season. Since there really isn't a lot to talk about, I think it should be fun to go over what they have to say about the Sixers and get my reaction, and also get my reaction to what they have to say about some of the Sixers' rivals coming into this season. So stay tuned. But before we break it down, I just want to welcome in everyone who's new to the channel. I'm NZ, and I love breaking down the Sixers, talking about the Sixers. And if you do too, I highly recommend you like and subscribe. Keep building this community. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. I know we can get there. But without further ado, let's talk about what Bleacher Report has to say about the Sixers and their toughest question for the team. Philadelphia 76ers. Can Joel Embiid stay healthy? This is the safest answer you can give, and I'm not really surprised in the slightest that they mentioned Joel Embiid's health. It has been one of the biggest roadblocks to the Sixers' success in the playoffs throughout, the entire Embiid era. It seems like every year he has to deal with some injury at the wrong time. But, before we get into that, let's explain more. Let's go into what Bleacher Report has to say. This has been the fundamental question about the Philadelphia 76ers for a decade, and the answer has almost always been no. The Sixers drafted Joel Embiid in 2014. Yeah, he's still never been past the second round of the playoffs. He's the only MVP in league history who's never made it to a conference finals. I don't know why they had to mention that. Injuries have played a factor in multiple early exits. That is true, whether it's his orbital bone or meniscus or half of his face being paralyzed, looking like it's just not functioning properly. All the pain he had to deal with every time he stepped on the court because of those injuries. The Sixers had one of the best and splashiest off seasons of any team in the league. They added Paul George, Andre Drummond, Eric Gordon, and Caleb Martin, plus re-signed Tyrese Maxey. But it won't mean much if Embiid is hobbled in the spring again. The full-strength version of the Sixers would be a real championship threat. There's just no way to expect that at this point. Dang, what a grim ending to that blurb. But, Bleacher Report, they're right. They do got a point. We can debate all we want about the team, the rotations, the coaching decisions, but all of that is irrelevant when it comes to Joel Embiid and whether he's healthy or not. If Joel Embiid is fully healthy, we can have those discussions, and the Sixers should be considered one of the top threats in the NBA in terms of winning a championship and making deep playoff runs and being one of the top teams in the league. But if Embiid, if he's hobbled, if he's hurt, if there's something wrong with him every year, then it's going to make our chances plummet. And we've seen that. We've seen those performances he had that were less than stellar because he had an orbital fracture, because he had to wear a mask, because half of his face was paralyzed. But even in that Knicks series, even though he was coming off of surgery and with all Bell's palsy and whatever, he was still able to drop 50 points in a playoff game against one of the best defensive teams in the NBA and have a really good series overall. And people don't really talk about that aspect of his game and of his mindset that much. They always point to his lack of success in the playoffs and some more embarrassing playoff performances. And yeah, he's had those throughout his career. Nobody's denying that. But people should give him respect for his mental fortitude to step on the court despite all of his injuries and just fight through the pain and be there for the team. Because Joel Embiid is the Sixers. If it wasn't for Joel Embiid, the Sixers probably wouldn't even still be playing in Philly, to be honest. Like, he is the process. He is the guy we're going to depend on to carry us to the top of the mountain and secure an NBA championship. Obviously, you need the roster construction. You need the coaching. I've always said for a while now, always thought the more and more I watch these NBA finals and the playoffs, it's all about health and timely shot making. And if you don't have those two things, unless you're like the KD Warriors or the Boston Celtics, where it doesn't matter what Joe Mazzulla does, it doesn't matter how bad Jason Tatum plays, they're just such stacked rosters that they can just fight through it. but you can't really say that that really doesn't apply to every other team. It just all comes down to timely shot making and being healthy at the right time. And the Sixers have not had that yet. And hopefully this is the season that they do, because they're in prime position to be going full throttle for an NBA championship. And we just gotta pray that Joel Embiid remains healthy. Case in point, it's all about timely shot making and staying healthy. I mentioned how, the Warriors, with their dynasty, they were able to bypass that, but they actually weren't, because when KD went down, that pretty much sealed the series for them against the Raptors. So it doesn't really matter how stacked you are. It's just a lot of things go into winning an NBA championship. I'm just saying that these teams that are winning, they get hot at the right time, and they are able to stay in good physical shape. And if the Sixers are able to do that, then they definitely have a chance through and through. That should be obvious. But if they don't, if Joel Embiid's hobbled, if Paul George is dealing with something, if Tyrese Maxey's dealing with something, then it's going to be a serious issue. Now we're going to go over what they have to say about some of the Sixers' toughest competitors, starting with the Boston Celtics. Derek White just turned 30 at the beginning of July. Porzingis, Brown, and Tatum are all under 30. All four of them are under contract, at least through the 26th season. In just about any previous NBA era, we'd like to be looking at these Celtics as a potential dynasty, but with the wildly restrictive bargaining agreement, it's forced us to learn about the first and second aprons, new trade rules, and luxury tax penalties. It's fair to wonder how long Boston can keep this group together. Boston should absolutely be considered the favorite to win the title in 2024-25, but Tatum's new mega contract kicks in next summer. Once it does, the Celtics will be faced with some tough choices because of the new CBA. Yeah, it's definitely an interesting point. And the NBA, it's just way too talented now. The Celtics are the most talented team in the league. They've shown that despite all the injuries that they have to deal with, and no matter how badly their best players perform, they'll still be able to make it through and push it through and just, secure that Larry O'Brien trophy, as, they've shown us last season. But considering them the favorite to win the title, I know we kind of do that for every team that wins coming into the season. But we've said that about the Bucks. We said that about the Warriors. We said that about the Nuggets. And I don't really think it's as sound and, as, sure that they're really going to be the top contender in the league. They're definitely the best team for sure. But the NBA, it's a game of inches. It's all about timely shot making and health. As I said earlier, I can't keep saying that enough. And whether those factors, how those factors affect a team each year, it's all pretty much random. A lot of things have to go right. And if things continue to go right for the Celtics, then yeah, they'll for sure, probably be the favorite to win again, with the sports betting books or whatever and all of that. The Celtics are definitely the biggest obstacle to the Sixers and their chances of making the playoffs. But, you never know what's going to happen. If the Sixers are able to stay healthy, it should for sure be a really competitive, fun to watch Eastern Conference. Now we got the Milwaukee Bucks. I'm kind of confused here because I don't know why it doesn't say Doc Rivers. It says what's different from last year. Let's see here. Okay, yeah, Bleacher Report. If you're listening to me, you need to go back and edit this article right now, because everyone knows that the tough question for the Bucks in this season is their coach, is their brain trust of the coaching staff, none other than Glenn Rivers, the most overrated coach in NBA history, and anyone who's been paying attention to what's been going on in the NBA should know this. There should be common knowledge. All of the blown leads he's had, him taking more effort in yelling at the media and blaming other people for his mistakes as a coach and the team's failure, blowing 26-point leads in the playoffs. Just thinking about having to watch a Doc Rivers-led team is making me jumble all my words and not getting my thoughts out correctly. It's just that much of a infuriating aspect of the Sixers for the last couple of years and just their brain trust and their coaching or whatever. But yeah, Doc, he's their biggest problem. I just can't take a Doc Rivers team led. See, this is what he's doing to me, Doc. What are you doing to me? I can't take a Doc Rivers led team seriously. Giannis and Damian Lillard, really talented players. Giannis is a superstar, but he's also injury prone too. Let's not forget that he has had missed significant time in the playoffs these past 2 seasons. And Lillard, he might be washed, but yeah, Doc Rivers, he is for sure their biggest problem. I can't trust any Doc Rivers led team. He's just going to get outcoached. He's going to run things into the ground. I mean, let me put it this way. Doc Rivers thought it was a good idea to put Paul Millsap on Giannis Antetokounmpo. What makes you think that he's now going to utilize Giannis in the right way? Joel Embiid had one of the best seasons of his career, and I think a lot of that has to do with Nick Nurse and his ability to work with superstars. Nick Nurse designed his strategy around Joel Embiid. That's, going through the Sixers, that's what, allowed the Raptors to advance past the second round and being the Sixers and win the NBA championship. And Joel Embiid, the Raptors covered him really well in that series. And Nick Nurse, I think he took Embiid's game to a whole another level. Who expects Doc to do that with the Lillard-Giannis duo that just looked really clunky last year? Who knows? Like I said earlier, anything can really happen in the NBA. Maybe they gel it out, and maybe Doc's lack of adjustment making and overall stubbornness, maybe they can bypass that, but who knows. Lastly, we have the New York Knicks. Can Jalen Brunson do it again? New York Knicks added yet another Villanova Wildcat this offseason, Mikal Bridges. Okay, we know. Brunson, who finished 5th in MVP voting in 2024, was at that level last season. So I guess the gist of this section is that they think that the Knicks, if Brunson can continue his stellar performance, then the Knicks should be, a really serious team in the Eastern Conference. And yeah, they did make a lot of exciting moves, but is Brunson really on the tier of Joel Embiid and Giannis and Jokic and LeBron and KD, Steph Curry? I don't know. I don't really think so. He's definitely on the upper echelon of all-stars, but I kind of disagree with this section in general. The toughest question for the Knicks, in my opinion at least, is whether Josh Hart can really keep it up, if he can do it again, because he was one of the most impactful players for the Knicks in their entire season, and especially in the playoffs. He was destroying the Sixers on the boards and making timely shots. He shot like 43% from 3 on like 6 attempts during that series. He was doing exactly what he had to do. And if you look back to the discourse when the Knicks were playing the Sixers, everyone was saying if Josh Hart was able to do his thing, he was like their X factor. Josh Hart's their X factor. When Jalen Brunson wasn't performing well, he was keeping the Knicks in the game with his energy. They also had Isaiah Hartenstein, who they don't have anymore. So their front court is definitely something that needs to be addressed too, because they have Mitchell Robinson, really solid starting center, obviously, but can he stay healthy? Like, he's been hobbled pretty much his entire career now. So I think the Knicks, they really need to stabilize their backcourt. And if Josh Hart can keep doing what he does best, then yeah, they're definitely a threat in the Eastern Conference. I still have the Sixers over them because they have the superstar in Joel Embiid, and the Sixers, they took that Knicks team, they took them to 6 games, and Embiid was coming off an injury, and he had Bell's palsy. And we had Tobias Harris on the team too. Not trying to make excuses, but those are just facts. And we almost beat the Knicks. The Knicks, they edged us out because they're the worst possible matchup for us. But if the Sixers are able to stay healthy and with all the additions they made, they can really have a fighting chance in the Eastern Conference. Anyways, those are just my thoughts, my reaction to this Bleacher Report article. I'll leave a link to this article in the description so you can react to it. Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section. If you enjoy the video, please like and subscribe. Hope you guys notice my new overlay and the Sixers flag in the background. Spicing up the background a bit, spicing up the presentation. I want to keep growing this channel, keep making things better. And if you got any suggestions, please let me know in the comments. Until next time, peace. Music.